you choose to, you may remove your mask.
All right, everywhere across America today, people are rejoicing. They no longer have to wear those masks. Some people maybe not liking it. But anyway, Florida Judge Kathryn Kimball Mizelle, appointed by former President Donald Trump, overturned that mask mandate for public transit yesterday. The White House deciding not to challenge it. Let's welcome in now Florida Lieutenant Governor Jeanette Nunez. Lieutenant Governor, great to have you with us.
Great to be here. Thank you so much.
All right, so I want to talk about the mask stuff in just a second, but right before we came on, we were learning some more about Governor DeSantis' decision announcing today to dismantle these special protections for Disney in the state of Florida. Like I said, we'll get to the masks in a second, but here is the governor.
That we are expanding the call of what they are going to be considering this week. And so, yes, they will be considering the congressional map, but they also will be considering termination of all special districts that were enacted in Florida prior to 1968, and that includes the Reedy Creek Improvement District.
All right, so that's one more thing we have to talk about, too, the redistricting. But let's focus on this special kind of taxing situation that Disney had. And I think I'm a Floridian. Disney's very successful. I mean, aside from all this woke stuff, why do they need it to still have it in the first place?
Well, let's be clear. It's not just a taxing district. It is basically a district that allows them to control their own destiny. So they do their own permitting, everything related to what they would normally have to do through the course of government. So they are given this special status, this special privilege that no other corporation in the state of Florida has. And so I think it's right to be able to look at it, evaluate it, and then make sure that we're doing things and making sure that all of our corporations are on a level playing field so as to not favor or disfavor one particular company only because of the power of their lobbying special interests.
Yeah, you know, I think anytime you hear about something that's been on the books since the 1960s, you're like, well, maybe it would be a good idea to reassess that. And does that really serve Floridians the way it was originally intended? And, you know, does it?
Well, and that's exactly why Governor DeSantis and I have been staunch in making sure that we're protecting Floridians' interest at every step of the way. We have always put Floridians first. That was our campaign promise back in 2018. We've made good on that campaign promise as we've governed, and we want to continue to put Floridians' interests first. And that means sometimes challenging corporations and the privileges that they have embedded through law. And so that is why you see that this special session, which will address redistricting as well, is going to address those districts that were created that technically are in violation of the Constitution.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting how this stuff is set up, and people can look at this. This is one of those problems that doesn't get a lot of attention, but you have these special districts, and not just for Disney, but all over the country, and these sometimes are special taxing situations there. And this is kind of an esoteric deal, but obviously coming to the front based on the ongoing issues with Disney and the state of Florida and Governor DeSantis. Let's also talk about these mask mandates being dropped now, and the judge who made the decision. Her name is Kathryn Kimball Mizelle, and she's just 35 years old. She was appointed by President Trump in 2020. And at the time of her appointment, the Daily Beast called out her lack of qualifications. They said she was not qualified by the American Bar Association, which is interesting because she seems to be able to understand the Constitution pretty clearly. If you read her ruling here, and you know, if the CDC were to have this authority, Congress would actually have to give it to them. That's kind of how the Constitution works. At least that's my understanding of it, right?
Indeed, and what you've seen the CDC do is take actions that are unrelated to their scope. Everything from shutting down an industry like the cruise industry to forcing masks on public transportation. And so why it was allowed to fester this long, I don't understand, but I'm glad that this judge had the sense to address it and not be a liberal activist like what we see in so many cases. And I will tell you, there are so many people, myself included, breathing a huge sigh of relief, not having to wear the masks on the planes. And so I think that this is something the vast majority of Americans are really excited that they will no longer have to wear a mask. If they choose to, that's fine, go right ahead. But certainly being able to address this and having a judge that had the fortitude and the intellect to really make sure that individuals could have their freedoms back, I think is essential. And
I think she probably, and I don't want to be, make too many assumptions here, but she probably could define what a woman is as well, which I think would make her more qualified perhaps than our most recent Supreme Court nominee. One other thing real quickly I want to talk about as it relates to Florida, and that's the redistricting down there. Governor DeSantis really has a lot of authority here on what he can say, and of course this makes liberals very nervous. This authority was given to him, though, by the Florida State Legislature. And what he's doing is very important because he is refusing to draw these districts based on race. Is that your understanding?
correct. And what he's done is he's obviously submitted maps to the legislature for them to consider as they take on this issue during this week's special session that is absent of race. Why should we segregate individual voters based on the color of their skin? We would not stand for that if they were doing that, say, in a public park, and we shouldn't stand for that in our maps. So for the governor to lead on this issue is just one more example of why Floridians are so happy that they have a governor named Ron DeSantis. And so what the legislature is going to do is they're going to reevaluate their initial decision to pass maps, which did not pass muster. U.S. Constitution, it violated the premise of the U.S. Constitution. And so I think that that's something that we are very eager to see them take on this issue, and we're very eager to see them pass maps that will meet constitutional muster and that will provide individuals an opportunity to vote for the candidate of their choice and not have a district that is gerrymandered in a way that stretches 200 miles east to west and tries to grab one population from Northeast Florida and link it with a totally separate population in the Panhandle. And so that is something that I think the governor has been very, very vocal on, and we look forward to the legislature getting it right this time.
You know, with the left always complaining about institutionalized racism, you'd think they'd be more in tune to what Governor DeSantis is doing here, trying to take race out of the equation when it comes to gerrymandering, which is so prevalent, as you indicated, in other states. Great to see you. Jeanette Nunez, the Lieutenant Governor of Florida. Thanks so much.